No one has made that.
Welcome everybody to my channel once again, and today we're going to take a look at how to properly build the Memento pistol that uses fast gunner. So without further ado, let's get right into it. As per standard tradition, we need to understand how the gun works in order to build it properly. So let's take a look at its weapon features. So hits grant a 36% chance to trigger fast gunner, chance doubles with a weak spot hit. So with that weapon feature, we know that the gun will play heavily around hitting weak spots. If you don't do that, well, the gun's performance is going to be close to mediocre, right? When fast gun is triggered, one bullet will be reloaded to your magazine. Each shot has a 40% chance to consume one more bullet, and this weapon feature is not tied to hitting weak spot. You could hit a body shot and this feature could trigger, right? And lastly, when extra bullets are consumed, attack plus 80%. So this is pretty much it for the weapon features. Really, you'll have to play around hitting weak spots. This is the important part. And what does fast gunner do? So fast gunner is a continuous buff. While skill is in effect, each stack grants fire rate plus 1% and attack plus 1% for 2 seconds. Effect can stack up to 5 times by default. So now that we know that, let's go take a look at our calibration attributes. Pretty much you've got two options. You can either go for precision style or rapid shot style. However, preferably you'd go for precision style, but let me state how both calis work, right? So with precision style, you shoot slower than rapid shot style. However, you'll deal much more damage per shot. It's going to perform better than rapid in terms of DPS damage, right? So pretty much you'll have around, give or take 10,000 more DPS with precision over rapid. However, if you get rapid, you'll shoot faster. You'll deal, well, less damage per shot, but well, your delay between shots is going to be smaller. So it may be better in PvP as, well, a faster fire rate compensates for missed shots, right? While for the precision style, each shot does hit hard. However, you're going to get punished real hard if you don't hit your shots, right? And that's pretty much it for the main effect. For your substats, just go for double weak spot damage. So now let's take a look at the weapon accessories that I'm running. So, well, I'm running a combination of mods that allows me to get 100 stability, 95 accuracy, and 79 range, right? So for that combination, I'll be running the tactical flash hider for the muzzle. And for the optic, I'll be running the compact reflex sight. You can also run the mini reflex sight. It doesn't make a difference. As a matter of fact, if I click on eye right here, I can see with the compact reflex sight, the recoil variation rate is at 0.455. If I change to this, it's still at 0.455. So it doesn't make a difference. But I just have it, right? So moving on to tactics, I'll be running the integrated laser sight to give me the accuracy that I lose from this tactical flash hider, right? However, if you want to go for a more balanced build, you could go for this right here, light break, or even the basic suppressor, which is actually, well, I'd say better than the light break here if you run the same other optic and tactics, right? Because it doesn't reduce your accuracy, yet it gives you a bit more stability here, right? Now, moving on to secondary weapons and melee. The best in slot would be Bingo. Bingo is awesome, right, for PvP and for PvE. It gives a lot of weak spot damage bonus. As a matter of fact, grants weak spot damage plus 15% on hit for 10 seconds, and it stacks up to 3 times, right? That duration for the 10-second buff is also reset every time you trigger this weapon feature. And well, so pretty much this Bingo, it applies bullseye effect, gives attack while with a kill, and essentially in PvP, it allows you to also fight long range. And with vulnerability amplifier, which is one of the mods for bullseye, I believe this is bullseye, yeah. So with vulnerability amplifier, the sniper will give 16% vulnerability when hitting an enemy. Now, the second option that you could go for would be the wildfire here, right? It's kind of an Walmart version of your Bingo in terms of buffs. It does still apply the bullseye effect, right? You can still put vulnerability amplifier on it. However, you gain less buffs from it, and also this last weapon feature, you're just not going to benefit from it for your Memento, since this buff is lost the moment you swap out the wildfire. Then if you're really desperate, right, you don't have the wildfire nor do you have the bingo, then you'd go for the crossbow, right? It gives 15% crit rate. You don't really care about the crit rate since we won't be building crit on this gun. Well, it does still give bullseye effect, so you could use the crossbow for its bullseye effect, right? And then for your melee weapon, it's going to be pretty much be the long axe. Heavy attacks activate Fortress Warfare up to once every 10 seconds. And it can also give you some crit rate, but you still, once again, you don't care about the crit rate. It's more for the Fortress Warfare effect, which if we go take a look, it gives weapon damage plus 20% when you have it on for 5 seconds, right? So pretty much the way how you use the long axe is if you do like the full swing, right? You'll get Fortress Warfare for sure, but you'll also get the crit rate buff when you hit an enemy. So for instance here I have a dummy, right? So if I were to do the full swing, I just got 1 stack from the long axe. Oops. I just got 1 stack from the long axe right here, and it's a stack for my crit rate and melee speed, well, buff, right? However, since you don't really care about those, what you can do is just do a quick swing, like animation and cancel this, and then I should have it in like soon. So right here, I get the buff. So this is what you can do with the long axe. Now, moving on to key gear and gear sets. For your key gear, it's optimal to run the Osis mask. Well, this buffs for this gun specifically are just simply better. However, Desert Dusk can also be kind of viable, right? If you like, for instance, you don't want to spend, you already have Desert Dusk and you don't want to spend the extra Starcrom for Osis mask. Now moving on to your gear set bonuses, you should run 3-piece Renegade, right? So 3-piece Renegade and the 2-piece Agent if you go fight exclusively against bosses. So from the Renegade set, from its 3-piece bonus, you gain a total of 40% weak spot damage bonus when continuously shooting the same target, and you lose half of it if you swap targets. So that is why I recommend this if you're fighting exclusively against bosses. Otherwise, run 3-piece Agent, so right here, with a 2-piece Renegade if you're fighting more against like aids, due to Agent 3-piece giving a bit more weak spot damage bonus as long as you keep killing enemies, right? So if you can see, the effect here gets bullet saver effect with every precise kill, weak spot damage plus 15% for 8 seconds. Effect can stack up to 3 times. So this is 45% and this is 40%. So these are pretty much your choices for the gear sets to run. Now, for your mods substats priority, go for precision suffix mods, which means getting weak spot damage bonus as your priority substat, then get weapon damage bonus, right? And well, with each mod, you are guaranteed to get at least 1 damage bonus against X type of enemy. So, well, you just, you get it anyway. So I'm not going to talk about that. Because that's going to, well, depend on the type of content you're clearing, right? However, next up is going to be mag capacity, because that is a very important substat. It allows you to shoot for a prolonged period of time, which in turn increases your sustained damage, since the more bullets you have, the more you'll shoot by default, and the more chances you'll have to proc fast gunner. So mag capacity is a pretty important substat, and for instance, if you run precision style calibration, which is what I'm running right now, you should aim for at least a total of 12% mag capacity bonus to reach your first milestone of 6 bullets per mag. Now, fast gunner trigger chance as a substat is a great one, as it allows you to ramp up your fast gunner stacks faster, which pretty much increases your DPS when you first start shooting, right? And then reload speed is good as well, although weaker than the previously mentioned one, since it doesn't really buff your damage when you shoot, right? So like, well, the special thing about it is that what it can allow is that if you have enough of it, it gives you more flexibility in the way where it can allow you to keep your fast gunner stacks alive when swapping between different weapons to activate their buffs, then coming back to your memento, right? Now, let's go take a look at the mods for the gun. If you take a look at the mods for fast gunner, run shooting bullets. The 4 seconds of increased fast gunner duration is incredibly important for this gun, as it allows this gun to deal much more sustained damage, since pretty much it allows you to keep the stacks alive for a while even after you reload, and none of the other mods will allow you to do so. And also, well, the weapon damage plus 15% is great as well. If you don't have shooting blitz, really anything else in here could work, right? So cowboy here, precision rush, or just shootout, right? However, they will all be weaker than shooting bullets. Now, for the mask, if we take a look at the mask mods, pretty much your two choices are going to be Blitzkrieg, and if I go down here, Gunslinger. Really, this one is pick whichever that has the better substats while considering the content you'll be clearing, right? So for instance, you wouldn't assume that all of the substats for both mods are the same, except for the damage against X type of enemy. You wouldn't bring the one that gives you damage bonus against normal enemies in a boss fight, right? So really, mask, you have a bit more flexibility. You can choose between Blitzkrieg or Gunslinger. It really doesn't matter that much. And then for the gloves, the best in slot would be weak spot damage bonus. And the second option is kind of like munitions amplifier, right? So you can use munitions amplifier if you don't have a weak spot damage bonus mod, or if your weak spot damage bonus mod has really bad substats. But pretty much I won't recommend munitions amp more than weak spot damage if you have good mods, good substats on both of them, because the gun revolves around hitting weak spots. So you wouldn't bring the gun against fights where there are no weak spots to be hit, right? So you would not bring a munitions amplifier as a mod to wear on your gloves. And now for the shoes, as per usual, covered advance is pretty much always the best option. It's an unconditional buff, whereas for all of your other mods, the requirements, I find them to be more conditional, right? However, you can still run the other ones, like if you don't have a good covered advance. However, for your pants, there is another mod that could make an interesting combo with another one that I'll talk about later in the video, but the mod for the pants that you could use for the combo would be Ruthless Reaper Precision, Ruthless Reaper, right? Hopefully it's precision because you want the weak spot damage bonus, but pretty much this mod will allow you to refill your entire magazine after 2 kills. Now for the top mods, it's more really just like run whichever. It's kind of the same idea as for the gloves mod, just weak spot damage bonus or munitions amplifier, whichever one that has the better substats on them. Then for the pants, the best in slot usual one would be 3 strikes that I'm running right now. So even if it only benefits the first 3 bullets of your mag, you won't average a high enough bullet count to run the other mod choice, which would be Bullet Siphon. And Bullet Siphon as your second option for this gun. It's also the mod that complements the combo with the Ruthless Reaper. Pretty much, as long as you keep killing enemies consistently, you won't need to reload, and you'll be able to reach the max stacks given from Bullet Siphon, which is 25% bonus weapon damage per shot. However, this combo is bad if there's nothing to kill and there's only a boss in the arena, right? But this is pretty much the other piece for the combo that you can run. Now, let's move on to the Cradle buffs. So for your Cradle, run handgun enhancement for the pistol damage bonus. Then long range enhancement if you're using the crossbow and then bingo and you'd want to make their damage slightly higher. Deviation master for PvE against great ones and elites. And Master Tactician against great ones. Tactical combo for the weapon damage plus 25%, right? Then Steady Hand since you're using a fast gunner gun. And also, you'll be, preferably since you're using one of the bullseye secondary weapons, right? So, you'll also get more weak spot damage from this Cradle. Then lastly, Bounty Hunter, which kind of works the same as Steady Hand, right? After those, you kind of have a flex option. So you can choose really just anything that isn't these, right? If you unless if you do elemental damage, which for instance if you run the stun baton instead of the long axe, you'll be doing a bit of power surge damage if you use it, but I don't really see the use of you running stun baton, right? But really it's a flex one for instance if you're playing PvP, if you're doing the cargo event, you could definitely run a brawl boost for less damage from other players. You can just anything that you'd prefer, right? Depending on the content that you're doing. Now, let's take a look at the food buffs, right? So for the drinks, if you use your bullseye guns, you can run the Stardust Raspberry Shaved Ice as it increases the duration of the continuous debuff, which is the bullseye, right? So you have pretty much around 1.6 seconds more of debuff time. I haven't done the math, but I think it's 8 times 1.2, which is 9.6. Then for the food buffs, Really, it kind of depends on what you're running, but the best ones, it's going to be Shattered Bread. So it increases all weapon damage by 25%, and a kind of an equivalent to that would be Assorted Canned Fruits. The reason why Shattered Bread is better because, well, there's no, it's not really conditional. This one, you have to have a sanity above 80%. And for Shattered Bread, also, if you just accidentally, like for instance, for one single bullet, you don't shoot the weak spot, you still gain, damage bonus from the weapon damage bonus, right? Whereas Assorted Canned Fruits, you won't gain it since it has to be a weak spot hit. Then you have all the other, well, easier to craft options, right? So Shellfish Meat for plus 5% vulnerability when you hit enemies. You've got Bone and Deviated Sausage against bosses. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through the, well, I just wanted to go through the 2 important ones that were honorable to mention. So if you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I greatly appreciate the support, and I'll see you in my next guide. Take care.